I will teach you how to think correctly by understanding that your thoughts are not mere whispers in the void. They are the very structure of your world. So most people believe they are thinking, but they are only rearranging their prejudices. They react to the outer world and call it thought. But the outer world is only the reflection of an inner arrangement. The moment you begin to observe the world not as cause but as effect, not as the source but as the mirror, then you are ready to think correctly. Your imagination is the creative power of your mind. Whatever you dare to assume as true, though reason denies it and your senses contradict it, if persisted in, will harden into fact. Right thinking begins when you dare to assume not based on what is, but based on what you desire to be. You do not need to fight circumstances. You need to change the seed. The seed is the thought, the assumption. The secret is to feel it real. Do not merely say, I am wealthy. Feel yourself to be it. Walk in that inner state. Speak from it, not toward it. The thought you accept emotionally is the womb of your tomorrow. Thinking correctly is not parroting affirmations. It is the disciplined acceptance of a state as already true. You cannot think one thing and expect another to happen. If you constantly think lack, need, or worry, then that is the God you serve. You must learn to deny appearances, not with violence, but with vision. The correct way to think is to live inwardly from the end. Close your eyes and see yourself already in possession of what you seek. Speak to others in imagination as though they already know the new version of you. When you rise from your chair, carry that feeling with you. Don't wait for the outer world to confirm it. Let your inner conviction create the confirmation. You are not a beggar in this world. You are its author. The thoughts you habitually dwell on become your script. If you do not like the role you are playing, stop rehearsing the same inner dialogue. Stop bowing to the tyranny of facts. Speak a new word within yourself. Every day, man walks by faith. But in what? In fear, in doubt, in limitation. Thinking correctly is simply redirecting that faith. Use the same faculty that once built your prison to now construct your palace. It is not about thinking positively. It is about thinking from the truth that your imagination is the only reality, that the world is clay, and your inner assumptions are the hands that shape it. Stop thinking of what might be. Begin to think from what already is within. And so I say to you, dare to believe differently. Dare to see yourself as you long to be, and then think only from that place. Persist, and the world will reassemble itself to mirror your vision. Most people go through life in a reactive state. They observe what happens around them. A missed opportunity, a harsh word, a bank account in the red, and then they react. This reaction might come in the form of fear, anxiety, frustration, or hopelessness. And because the world appears so vivid, so undeniable, they assume that this outer world is the cause. And their thoughts and feelings are merely effects. But this is not true thinking. This is merely reflex, an echo of circumstances bouncing around inside a mind that has forgotten its own power. True thinking begins the moment you realize that nothing in the outer world has the authority to dictate the inner world unless you permit it. It's easy to think that we are thinking when in fact we are only rearranging reactions. A person sees a bill they cannot pay and instantly thinks, I am broke. I can't catch a break. Things never work for me. But that is not deliberate thought. That is conditioning. That is the mechanical repetition of inner states planted long ago, now masquerading as facts. The truth is, the world you see is the world you've accepted within yourself. Every reaction, every automatic assumption stems from the deep beliefs you've allowed to take root. If you do not examine those beliefs, if you do not challenge the voices within, you will continue to live not a life of creation, but of repetition. To think correctly is to interrupt that cycle. It is to step back from the blur of emotion and the immediacy of appearance and ask, what am I assuming? What am I believing that is causing me to feel this way? Where did this belief come from? Do I choose to keep it? Thinking, in the true sense, is an act of spiritual authorship. It is choosing a state, a vision, an identity, and holding it within as the only reality, regardless of what the senses report. This is not about ignoring facts, but about understanding that facts are temporary, fluid, moldable, reflective of something deeper. The outer world is the photograph, but your inner world is the camera. Change the lens, change the scene. When you think correctly, you begin to realize that your consciousness is not a passenger in this life. It is the driver. If you react to everything, it means the world still owns your attention. It means you have not yet claimed your inner authority. To think correctly is to no longer allow the outer world to hold you hostage. It is to decide in advance how you will feel, what you will believe, and what story you will live. And then to hold that state regardless of temporary opposition. Correct thinking requires effort at first, because the mind is like a wild horse. It wants to go where it always has. It wants to worry, to fear, to doubt, to replay what it has seen 1,000 times before. But the moment you begin to say, no, I choose a different state, you are beginning to govern thought rather than be governed by it. You are no longer a victim of circumstance, but a creator of it. This is not magical thinking. This is law. You become what you consistently accept as true about yourself, about life, about others. And once you understand this, you see why most people struggle. They have never stopped to consider that their reactions are not truth. They have never been taught to question their inner conversation. They assume the problem is out there, the job, the government, the market, the other person. But the real battlefield is always within. When you start to truly think, you become still. You go within and ask, what am I assuming? What do I want to believe? What must I now accept to experience what I desire? And then you persist in that thought. Not once, not twice, but until it becomes automatic, until it becomes your new default. So thinking in its highest form is not logical intellect. It is imagination directed by purpose. It is vision sustained by faith. It is the courage to claim an unseen reality as more real than what is seen. That is the mark of one who has ceased to react and begun to think. Correctly, deliberately, and with power. Thinking correctly is not about wishful dreaming or hoping that someday your desires will come true. It is not about striving toward a goal with the belief that it is still distant from you. It is about assuming, here and now, that what you desire is already yours, that it exists within you, and you are merely becoming aware of it. To think from the end means to dwell in the consciousness of your wish fulfilled. You do not beg for it, you do not chase it, you become it inwardly before it has any form outwardly. This is one of the greatest secrets of creation. You must think from the state you desire, not toward it. When you think toward something, you affirm separation. You reinforce the idea that what you want is still out of reach, that you are here and it is over there. This state of mind keeps you yearning, hoping, and often doubting, but when you assume the end, you eliminate that separation. You say within yourself, it is done, and you move through your day with the quiet confidence of one who knows the outcome. Thinking from the end is not about ignoring reality, It is about reimagining it. You are not a passive observer of the world, but a conscious creator, and creation begins in the unseen. Your inner conversations, your feelings, and your self-talk all plant seeds. The moment you begin to embody the state of your desire, not as something you want, but as something you are, the world begins to shift around you. Imagine someone who wants to be confident. If they keep affirming one day, I'll be confident, or I hope to feel better soon, they are still thinking toward confidence. They are still admitting they are not that person yet. But if that same individual begins to think from confidence, they act, speak, and carry themselves as one who already is. They begin to embody that state, and the outer world starts to mirror it. Opportunities arise, people respond differently, and their reality changes. Not because the world suddenly improved, but because they did. This is true for any desire, wealth, love, healing, success. You must ask yourself, if I were already the person I desire to be, how would I feel? What would I be thinking? How would I act? And then you begin to feel, think, and act accordingly. This is not pretending. Pretending is knowing you're not and faking it. But assuming the end is a deep conviction, an inner knowing that what you have imagined is already yours in consciousness, and consciousness is the only reality. When you assume the end, you no longer argue with appearances. You don't seek confirmation from the outside. You rest in the knowing that the seed has been planted and will grow in due time. The delay does not disturb you, because you understand that the outer must conform to the inner, not the other way around. You live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and that feeling becomes your new atmosphere. Thinking from the end means you already have it. You're not trying to get it, you already are it. You're not trying to become it. That one shift in identity changes everything. You stop trying so hard. You stop doubting yourself. You move with clarity, certainty, and peace. The inner fight ends because you claim what is yours, not with force but with faith. This approach is radical because it asks you to live in the unseen before it becomes seen. It asks you to trust your inner experience more than the outer facts. But this is the only way anything new is created. Every invention, every transformation, every breakthrough began with someone daring to believe in what was not yet visible. So to think correctly is to step into the end, fully, without hesitation, without apology. It is to wear the feeling of your fulfilled desire like a second skin. It is to answer the question, what if it were true? And then live as if it already is. The moment you think from that place, you are no longer trying to manifest something. You are simply revealing it. And the world, in its perfect obedience to your inner state, must follow. To feel it real is to bridge the gap between imagination and manifestation. It is not enough to merely think of what you want. You must emotionally accept it as already yours. This is the core of true transformation. It is not logic that changes your world. It is feeling. Feeling is the secret link between the unseen and the seen. When you feel something as real, your subconscious mind accepts it, and the world responds accordingly. It is not about pretending or fantasizing. It is about inner conviction. The deep emotional acceptance that what you have imagined is already a fact in your inner world. Most people try to change their lives by force, by effort, by pushing and pulling at the external. But the world is not moved by action alone. Action follows belief. Belief is rooted in feeling. You always move in the direction of your dominant feeling. Even when you think you're making conscious choices, your emotions are the ones steering the ship. If you feel unworthy, you will reject opportunities. If you feel rich, even with no money in hand, you will begin to attract abundance. The outer world does not create your feeling. Your feeling creates the outer world. To feel it real is to generate the emotional experience of your wish fulfilled. It means to feel now what you believe you would feel if your desire were already a part of your life. This does not mean waiting for the condition to appear in order to feel good. It means you take that feeling now and make it your dwelling place. You close your eyes, quiet the mind, and imagine a scene that would naturally imply the fulfillment of your desire. Then you enter that scene and feel it as though it is happening now. You hear the sounds, sense the surroundings, feel the joy, gratitude, peace, or excitement that would naturally come with the manifestation. You breathe into that state and you accept it. You say within yourself, "This is mine. This is real." And once you feel it real, you let go of the need to see it immediately. The seed has been planted. You don't dig up a seed every hour to see if it's growing. You water it with faith, nourish it with continued feeling, and trust the process. The subconscious mind does not argue, it accepts what is impressed upon it with feeling. This is why people often find that what they fear most ends up happening, because fear is also a powerful feeling. It too imprints itself deeply. But just as negative feelings create unwanted outcomes, positive, directed feelings create beautiful realities. Many people try to affirm their desires while feeling doubt. They say words like, "I am wealthy" or "I am loved," but within them is a quiet whisper of denial. The subconscious does not respond to the words, it responds to the tone of belief behind them. The feeling of "I am" is the creative center. What you attach to "I am" emotionally, not just mentally, becomes your experience. If you say "I am successful," but feel like a failure, the feeling wins. That is why you must not only speak your desire, but feel it. Wrap it in emotion. Accept it as a living truth. To feel it real is to step beyond appearances. The senses may deny your desire. The world may laugh at your vision. But if you remain faithful to the feeling, the world will rearrange itself. You must dare to feel what your senses cannot yet verify. That is the act of creation. That is how you draw the invisible into visibility. Emotions are not mere reactions. They are creative forces. You are not at the mercy of what happens to you. You are shaping your life with the feelings you consistently inhabit. So become selective. Choose your inner atmosphere the way an artist selects colors. Cultivate the emotions that match the life you want. Joy, gratitude, confidence, peace. These are not just pleasant states. They are bridges to your future. When you feel it real, you no longer wait for permission from the world. You don't ask for validation. You don't seek proof. You create from within. And that inner world, if held with sincerity and feeling, will eventually express itself without you begin to live in the end, and the end becomes your beginning. Faith is not something rare or reserved for the deeply spiritual or religious. Faith is universal. Every person alive is exercising faith every day, whether they know it or not. The question is never whether you have faith, but rather, where have you placed it? Most people unknowingly place their faith in fear, in limitation, in doubt, in the past. They believe in what they do not want and then wonder why life keeps reflecting the very things they hope to avoid. But it is not the events of life that shape them. Faith is simply the belief in the unseen. It is the conviction that what you accept inwardly will appear outwardly. And everyone is practicing this law. The one who constantly worries about losing their job is placing faith in that possibility. The one who dwells in thoughts of illness is exercising faith in disease. The one who imagines betrayal in every relationship is using faith to bring about exactly that. It is the misdirection of faith that causes most of the suffering in the world, because people believe more strongly in the evidence of fear than in the promise of vision. But just as you can unknowingly use faith to sustain a life of lack, You can also direct it deliberately toward abundance, healing, love, and fulfillment. You are not a slave to circumstance.